Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, the YouTube. I'm Joe Attic-Cinch, and if you're like me and live in the Midwest, you'll realize it's fucking cold. I mean, negative degree digits, negative double-digit wind chilled cold. And so there's nothing really to do because who really wants to leave their house, try to pry a car door open, wait the amount of time it takes for the car to warm up, and then go to some place that will most likely be closed. So, like many others, I'm just staying in and trying to find something to do to keep me sane. Haven't been really that successful today. You know what I haven't done in a while? I've never done another Poem Love episode. No better time than right now. But what poem to do? Ever since the OCD poem, which was an easy choice because of the hype it was getting at the time, it's been hard to think of another poem to do. I got it. Let's look at Tom Budday again. Now, a couple months ago, because of a delay, you might remember that I did an episode about Tom Budday, Detroit poet, good friend of mine, just great guy and poet all around. And this is his book, again, Blood, Bone, and the Little Birds. And if you watch the video, you might remember that I talked specifically about one particular poem that I absolutely love of his. It is one of my favorite poems of all time because it is the best way that I can describe my views nowadays of religion. It is the last poem in this book, and it is called Have You Accepted? Let's see if I can get this in view. There it is. Have You Accepted? And like the OCD video, the original, the first Poem Love video, we are going to go stanza by stanza, somewhat critiquing the poem, discussing what the poem, my own personal views of what the poem means. Now, there were comments on the OCD video that my video wasn't for someone who had yet to read the poem or discover the poem. Fair enough. So if you want to hear the poem by the poet himself, before watching this video, there is a video on YouTube. If you look up Tom Budday, Have You Accepted, you should pop up. It's a double video with this poem and another poem of his tonight. I suggest you stop the video now and go watch that if that is the case. I'll give you a minute. And done. Okay, now that you've done that, now let's go through the poem. Have You Accepted by Tom Budday. While I was walking one way down the path I chose, he was appropriate enough, was on the same path, just walking the opposite direction. Starting off is a scenario we all know. Strangers walking down the street, passing each other. Us going one way, them going another. Perfect enough. Especially if you're like me and live in a big city. This has happened to you many times. And as two strangers met on that partly sunny summer pavement. Ooh, sun. Oh, summer. Sounds like a dream right now. He asked me one question, which in hindsight I realized was a haiku. For the uninitiative, a haiku is a short poem, 17 syllables. It is from the Japanese tradition of poetry writing, usually involving nature, but has basically in a more watered down version in some most haikus nowadays just sticks to the 17 syllable rule, which will go, usually goes 5-7-5. So here his cue. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior? It works. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? 5-7-5. Fair enough. Well done, Tom. Then he stood there as if he was expecting a reply, as if he was interested in what I was going to say, as if it was any of his business. But I stood silently, counting syllables, and tried to organize my thoughts into a valid response. He started speaking again, and I slowly came to the realization that he didn't care what I was going to say. And if anyone usually has someone like me who doesn't necessarily have a specific deity that they worship, and you ran into people like this, you know the awkwardness, yet you know what to say and to make sure that you don't have a conflict, because you never know who's going to be one of the cool ones, per se, the people who are just going to say, oh, okay, have a nice day, and the people who are going to try to jam it down your throat. We've all been there. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know everyone's story. I listened to his speech, took his leisure, wished him a good day, and kept walking down the path I chose. Which is what many of us would do. So again, it's still, this poem is still in that realm of very familiar, something we can all relate to. But I often come back to that moment, which is something I can say most of us don't do. To his face, to the questions I never got to answer, the questions I never got to ask. And this is where the poem starts to blow me away. It goes into the parts that I love particularly about this poem. The questions I never go to ask. There is the questions I never go to ask. You see that, right? The questions I never go to ask. I never realized there was a spelling. I never noticed there was an error in this book. I guess I got so used to just knowing that it was supposed to be the questions I never got to ask. The questions I never go to ask. Anyway, minor thing. Things like, have you accepted Jesus Christ as a man of social and personal change? Have you come to grips with the fact that he was a Jew? Which, it's hard to believe there are still people who forget that, yes, Jesus Christ was a Jew, because before Jesus Christ there weren't a thing called Christians. And he most likely didn't have blue eyes. And that makes it very funny, despite what happened this past holiday season. Yeah, most likely Jesus Christ, we all have to come to terms. Jesus Christ wasn't white. He was most likely Arabian, looked Middle Eastern, or was possibly black. That is the most likely thing, honestly, that Jesus Christ. So, he wasn't white, and he probably didn't have blue eyes. We have to get over that. Do you realize he was killed by religious fundamentalists? Too easy. People that feared his new way of thinking because it threatened their sense of comfort. And thank God. Huh? It is 2014. This book, He published it. When did he publish this? I don't even remember. It had to be somewhere around 2011, 2010, I think. And the people, it still amazes me sometimes that there are people who forget that the people who claim to be following the practices of Jesus were more like the people who were screaming for him to be crucified. Because I personally believe that, yes, Jesus was human. And he most likely could have been the Son of God. Like anyone else, I won't know the truth until the end. So, that out of the way, let's move on to past Jesus in this poem, which is another great. Have you accept Martin Luther King as a role model for your children? Now, there are certain aspects that have been brought forth about Martin Luther King Jr. that are not role modelish, but the main view of Martin Luther King, of things he wanted done and how he wanted done, I still think, yes, is a good role model. Can you embrace Mahatma Gandhi as a man of God? A man of love, of nonviolence, of peace, I believe, yes, is a man of God. Buddha as a vessel of divinity. Muhammad as a holy being. And hence, again, bringing the concept of connection over differences when it comes to religion. Yes, there are differences. We all believe different things. And when it comes to religion is when those differences can become threatening at times. Which is why I believe in one giant power. Nothing of a sex, nothing of a race, not even nothing of a religion. Just some power that watches over us and has all these different ways to connect to different people. So Buddha as a vessel of divinity, okay. Mahatma Gandhi as a man of God, yes. Muhammad as a holy being, sure. Which, as I say that, brings us into the next stanza. Did you realize that if you hold an image of God before the entire world, that not everyone sees the same thing? And will you take that as beautiful? Can you accept that maybe your image is not for everyone? I think I said enough about these lines in the Tom Budday review. So if you want to hear my personal opinions, because I feel like even in the last couple sentences I was just rehashing what I said in my Tom Budday video, you can watch that. Can you accept that there are other ways? I have found other ways, which now we bring into why Tom is such a great guy, because you believe him when he talks about his other ways that he's found God. I have touched God while dancing, sweating blood and beauty and chaos, shaking it from my hair. Shaking it from my hair. Not really much to shake, is there, Tom? Anyway. I have heard her whispering in songs of meditation, music you've condemned without hearing. I have a whole story about that. If you want to hear the story, talk about it with me personally. I have stretched and broken my body, learned that pain is a gift. I have woven my muscles to become a pillar of blood reaching from the arch blue dome of the sky to the black pits of fertile earth, and all while my God saw me, and my God knows me, and my God is okay with the creature I have become, and that is, in my own personal opinion, if you feel like attacking someone because they don't believe exactly what you do, you have to ask yourself, how much is your God happy with the person you are? And you have to truly think about that. So can you accept that there are other ways? That we all have a line we must walk. And maybe your footsteps do not fit my stride. And all I really need from you is room in your faith, the way I have made room for you in mine. And maybe, just maybe, the destination is not the answer. But rather how well we walk the path we choose. That is the end of the poem. And this is definitely a poem that has to make you think. No matter what religious aspects, if you believe in a higher power, or if you don't, if you feel that there's nothing after death, or there's something after death. There's something watching us, or there's nothing watching us. You still have to think about if the path you are walking, because we are all on a path somewhere. The path you are walking is a good path, or maybe not such a good path. But again, you also have to think that it's in our own interpretations. How we've all experienced different things in life that shape our views of the world. How we all aren't going to experience the same things. Whether it be our parents, our friends, strangers we meet, the jobs we work, our level of education, our race, our gender, our sexuality. There's things we're not all going to connect with. But maybe if we learn to accept the differences and even find similarities in the differences, maybe at that point the higher power will be happy with us. And that's what I think about when I read this poem. And that's why I love this poem, because in some sense it gives me hope. And that is something our world needs. As cliche and hippie-ish as it sounds, we need hope. We need hope. And on that note, if you're in the area I am in, or anywhere nearby that's experiencing these freezing temperatures, I hope you stay warm. If you have someone to cuddle with, I hope you hold them tight. I hope for love, and I hope, as we are even 6-7 days now into the new year, things will only go up from here. So I am Joe Atticus Inch, hoping that you keep the pens moving, live long and prosper. And I hope I'll see you tomorrow on a new episode of Poet Love. But hope I see you again.